What's growing on, gardeners? It's Tuesday, October 17th, and it suddenly got really cold really fast here on the southeastern coast of North Carolina. And this winter chill in the air has many of us thinking about putting our garden beds to rest for the season. But I'm here to tell you that you don't have to. On today's video, I'm going to give you 9 different veggies that you can still plant out in your garden right now for harvests all winter long. These are some of the most cold-hardy crops that you can grow in your vegetable garden.
If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell to receive new video notifications, and check out our Amazon store and spread shop links in the video description for everything I use in my garden and awesome custom designed apparel and other gear. Your support is greatly appreciated.
Many of us have garden burnout this time of year, and we look forward to putting our garden beds to rest for the winter to give ourselves a break. But what happens? After a few weeks or a couple of months, we wish we didn't because we get cabin fever from the dreary winter weather, and we just wish that we had something growing out in our gardens to force us outside, get a little bit of sunlight, and see something grow when otherwise things are mostly cold and dead. So these veggies are things that we can, for the most part, grow all winter long in almost any climate. These are very cold hardy, easy to grow veggies. And the first veggie that I want to show you are bunching onions. These are bunching onions, not your standard bulbing onions. While bulbing onions require the long days of the summer to develop those nice big bulbs, bunching onions we don't grow for the bulbs, we grow for the greens. These are basically green onions. So we can grow these 365 days a year in most climates. Because bunching onions grow independent of day length, I like to grow them all year round in my garden. They tolerate heat and they also tolerate cold. In fact, here in Zone 8A where I live, I've never found the cold temperature where the bunching onions start taking significant damage. And since I've been growing them, we've gotten as cold as 14 degrees Fahrenheit. So I know that at the very least, onion tops do not suffer damage, at least significant damage, at that level of cold. So these things are hardy at least down to Zone 7, and obviously Zone 6 and 5 with some type of protection structure like this. Now here I have numerous bunching onions that I've been growing since the summer. These are going to slow down in the winter because it gets cooler and the day length gets shorter. So it's a good idea to have numerous different plantings. The more the better, since they will grow more slowly. And then anytime you need some green onions, you just come out and you snip these off. And they're absolutely delicious. This second veggie that you can plant that will grow all winter long in your garden are leeks. Leeks are another allium in the same family as onions. These are super cold hardy, even more cold hardy than onions. Now, variety selection means a lot when it comes to growing leeks. This variety right here is called King Richard, and in my Zone 8A climate, this is one that I can grow all year round. I don't have to be picky because my winters aren't super cold, and while it does get hot in my summers, it doesn't stay incredibly hot for very long. So if you live in an incredibly hot place, you may need to get a bolt-resistant leek. If you live in an incredibly cold place, you want to get yourself a winter standing leek like Blue Soleils. If you were to grow something like Blue Soleils, where you plant it in late summer, early fall, they get to maturity, you can have them standing all winter long in Vermont. You can actually keep them in snowpack, and then you can just go outside and pull them whenever you need. So there is a lot of different variability with different cultivars of leeks, and no matter where you live, you can grow them 365 days a year if you make the right selections. Because you can grow leeks all winter long, I recommend planting them out in various small waves. So what you see right here are some leeks that I started from seed probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and they are really starting to grab hold, and in a matter of probably about 2 or 3 months, I will be able to harvest my own delicious leeks. But I also have some leek plants here that I planted back in the summer. They are in the process of reaching maturity. These will likely be ready for harvest in probably about a month or so. And then over here I have a bed of leeks that I actually planted in late last winter or early spring, and they made it through my summer here in the garden. They are still standing. Now I ate about half of them, but I still have half of them remaining. So these leeks are actually ready to go right now, and now that it's cooled off, they will stand all throughout the winter. So whenever I want, I can just walk in my garden and pick myself some fresh leeks. This is what is so amazing about them. They are a food source for most of us all year round. Veggie number 3 is garlic. Now the last 2 veggies I gave you are things that you can plant all year round. Garlic, on the other hand, must be sown during the cool season. That's because it requires vernalization. It requires exposure to cold temperatures, and it needs to accumulate hundreds of hours of those cold temperatures in order to bulb properly in the spring. That's why we plant our garlic in the fall for best results. And what you see right here are a couple of heads of garlic that I harvested last summer that I saved to plant a new crop. Now, there are two types of garlic: hardneck garlic and softneck garlic. Hardneck garlic is extremely cold hardy and grows anywhere from zones 3 to 8. Now, hardneck garlic is super flavorful, but it requires a lot of winter chill in order to develop nice big bulbs. If you don't have a lot of winter chill, you can plant softneck garlic. That will grow in zones 5 through 10. So if you don't get those intense cold spells and you don't think hardneck garlic will be successful in your area, grow a softneck variety. I've grown both here in North Carolina, and I've been successful growing both. If you want a complete guide on how to grow garlic, I will link to one down in the video description. Veggie number 4 is kale. Kale for me has been one of the easiest greens to grow in our winters here in North Carolina. I'm growing lacinato kale and I'm growing dwarf blue curly kale. These plants are actually a full year old and they are still producing wonderfully. Now, here in North Carolina, I have gotten down as cold as 8 degrees in a 100-year freeze that we had back in 2017, 2018. And my kale survived that 8-degree temperatures. So I know that kale can grow unprotected out in zone 7, and if you build yourself a hoop structure, again, you can easily grow this down to zone 6, probably even zone 5 with a little bit of protection. If you keep the frost off the leaves, they're going to tolerate the cold temperatures even better. The kale plant that you see right here is a variety called Red Russian. This is one I've also been growing for years, and this is a seedling that's self-seeded from last year. And this is probably the most cold hardy variety of kale out there. If you live in a very cold climate and you want to grow kale all throughout the winter, I suggest you give the Red Russian variety a try, and the leaves, when they are young, are very tender and delicious. Veggie number 5 is carrots. Carrots are another one of those wonderful vegetables that I can grow here 365 days a year. In fact, when we had that crazy 8-degree freeze back in January of 2018, my carrots took 0 damage. So I'm pretty confident these can grow all the way down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit unprotected. It's really going to be about whether your soil freezes that dictates whether you can grow carrots all throughout the winter. So if you can make, again, a little hoop structure and then hold in that warmth and make it artificially warm during the day and keep that soil workable, you can grow carrots. In fact, these carrots are left over from the spring that I never really got around to harvesting, and as you can see, they are kind of past their prime, but that's because I grow so many carrots that I usually just can't get to them all. They're one of the easiest things that you're going to grow. I have a whole bunch more here. That guy was a little bit smaller, but you can see I have more carrots than I know what to do with. They're one of the easiest things that you're going to grow. No pests, no diseases. Sow as many carrots as you can in succession. Plant them out every 3 or 4 weeks or so, so you always have a little row of carrots growing in your garden. Veggie number 6 that you can grow in your garden all winter long are radishes. The amazing thing about radishes is most varieties will go from seed placed into the ground to harvest in only about 25 days. They are literally one of the fastest growing plants. So because of that, even if you live at a very high latitude and your sun gets very weak and your days get really short in the winter, there is probably still enough solar energy there to grow radishes. Now, the thing that will dictate whether you can grow radishes is the warmth of your soil. That's because really, as long as your soil remains workable and doesn't freeze through, you can still grow radishes. So again, even if you live in a very cold place that has really cold winters, if you build one of those hoop structures or you put down row covers and that traps in the sun during the day so it warms up your soil and it prevents it from freezing through, if you keep that soil workable, you can still grow radishes. Veggie number 7 that many people can grow all winter long is parsley. Most people are surprised to find out how incredibly tolerant of cold parsley is. In fact, it is one of the things that I look forward to most growing in my garden in the winter. You see, parsley is very sensitive to heat. Here in North Carolina, it will begin bolting on me in mid-May, and I can't grow it fresh throughout the summer, but I can grow it all winter long. Now, as I said, I've gotten down to 14 degrees, and my unprotected parsley only got a little bit of leaf burn, and then I hit it with more fish emulsion and it grows right back. So this is something that you can grow unprotected to at least 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and with some cover, obviously, you can grow it a lot colder. And being Italian American, the two things that I love growing in my garden in terms of fresh herbs are fresh basil and fresh parsley. Well, I love growing basil all summer long, and I love growing my parsley all winter long. So no matter what time of year it is, I can at least get some fresh basil or some fresh parsley out of my garden. So I strongly recommend that you grow this wonderful, super cold tolerant herb. Veggie number 8 that you can grow all winter long is cilantro. Cilantro is like a more extreme version of parsley. It is super sensitive to even the slightest of hot temperatures. Any prolonged heat will make it bolt. So for me, I have to grow cilantro in the winter time. Now, when I said earlier that my parsley took a little bit of leaf damage at 14 degrees Fahrenheit, the cilantro absolutely laughed at that. So this is something that I'm pretty confident you can grow down to close to 0 degrees. It is one of the most cold hardy, and it grows like a weed. So I look forward to this time of year because it is the only time of year that I can actually grow this very heat sensitive plant. Now, I know that it's time to start sowing cilantro seed in my garden when the crop from last year starts producing new plants. So these grew from the plants that I let go to seed last year. And as soon as I saw them starting to come up, I sowed more cilantro seeds. So they haven't quite germinated yet because I just put them in 2 days ago, but they will be breaking ground probably within the next week. And for those of you internationally that aren't used to the word cilantro, the actual plant name is coriander. Here in the United States, we call the seed coriander and the plant cilantro, but in many countries around the world, it's just called coriander. And veggie number 9 that you can plant in your garden all winter long is arugula. Now, this is the only veggie on this list that I can show you neither a seed packet nor evidence of it growing in my garden right now. And that is because it is very heat sensitive. So I have to wait until the coldest weather of the year here in Zone 8 to grow arugula. Now, once I go out and actually buy seeds and then sow them, they are going to germinate in no time, and I will be able to start harvesting them in a matter of weeks. Now, the way you harvest arugula is simple. You'll plant it all out in a big straight row, and then you'll come out with scissors, and then you will just snip it a few inches above the base. And then you'll hit it with a high nitrogen fertilizer, and it will grow back again in a matter of weeks. It's one of those cut and come again veggies that you can just keep harvesting all throughout the winter, and then when we start getting the slightest bit of heat in late March, it's going to go to seed very quickly. Again, when we got down to 14 degrees, it didn't even affect the arugula. So it's one of those things that folks in cold climates can grow under some type of cover for who knows how long, maybe all throughout the winter. And that right there are 9 different veggies that you can grow all throughout the winter, even in very cold climates. Now, I know that many of you watching this video are not in a climate as warm as mine. I'm in Zone 8, and many of you are in 7, 6, 5, or even 4. But no matter where you live, if you're simply willing to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and buy some half-inch electrical conduit and just bend it in hoops, and then you just use these PVC clips right here to just clip on some agricultural fabric or some greenhouse plastic, and you keep the frost off of those plants, and then you trap all the sunshine during the day so the ground never freezes, it will shock you what you can grow all winter long. I know how hard the winter can be on many of us. We get cabin fever and lack of vitamin D. Having something growing in our yards just is incredible for us both physically and mentally, and it tastes a whole lot better than anything we get from the grocery store. So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and please ring that notification bell so you're notified when I release more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products that I use in real life in my garden, they are all linked down below in my Amazon storefront in the video description. I'll drop some tutorials in the video description as well for how I build these various hoop houses if you need a little bit more cold protection. And while you're there, check out my spread shop for custom merch if you want to support the channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video.
Well, we had a little accident with our sweet, sweet Dale. Last week, he was at play care having all sorts of fun, but he cut his paw in between his toes, and it looked like that it was getting better, but he must have been licking it too much and it must have gotten infected because last night it blew up to the size of a golf ball. So we had to take him to the emergency room to get it sutured up, and he's okay. He is just a little drowsy because he had some sedatives, but he had to be placed in the awful cone of shame, and he's stuck in there for 2 weeks until the sutures are able to be pulled out. And he's just so tired from last night, and he's just a little bit upset. The good news is he can still go on walks. They just have to be really short, and he's not in pain anymore. He will be A-okay. This sweet little boy, he just plays too hard sometimes. But the vet said he was absolutely amazing. He was so calm and so gentle. He knew that we were there to help him. He knew he was getting medical care. He is a very smart boy.